This is Cybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map Suburban Arena 8 for a 4v4. Sometimes in these 4v4s you get everyone playing random. And in this case, about half of these guys are playing random. So if you see your favorite faction is not represented here, well, just know that it's mostly random how these folks ended up in here. This is an east versus west kind of game. So it's going to be left versus right on the minimap as the Cyan Steel Talons in the north on the left side. This is Xads. His teammate as the purple nod. This is GB 6001-11. A bunch of numbers after that guy's name. Meanwhile, on the south side of the left, as the pink marked of Kane, this is GwaspaRi. And as the red GDI, this is TheCommonBank. It is a GDI nod team on the left side. And I don't know why I brought up the minimap, but on the right side, we have to continue these introductions. As the green screen, this is EcLipse. As the yellow GDI, this is Tasher. And as the orange scrin, give it up for CERN. Rounding out our 8th player as the blue-black hand, this is Gajcus. This guy is coming in to a mixed team. It's all GDI nod on the left side, you know, Steel Talons nod, Marked of Kane GDI, and then it's Black Hand Scrin, GDI Scrin on the right side. So between all of these factions, we have quite a spread, but of course not a perfect distribution of all factions -1. Couple of tip spikes in between each of the players here. If you're looking at this map and you haven't seen it before, this is of course the 4v4 variant of Tournament Arena. This is one of the ways that people create new maps, is they take already existing maps and modify them in certain ways. So Tournament Arena tends to be a map where you build towards some kind of big war of attrition between the bases. And I would not be surprised if this goes the exact same way. We've got some names that we recognize in here. TheCommonBank, GwaspaRi, even Xads I've seen before. But honestly, if I read that name, I would have thought I saw that guy over in Red Alert 3. So I don't know how he plays. I don't know how good he is. But on the other side, we got EcLipse representing the green screen in the south. And if I am thinking correctly, EcLipse, I feel like, is the standout 1v1er in this game. So we'll see how he performs in a team game. In this particular case, Gajcus is going to be getting pushed back. He doesn't have that stealth on those harvesters, and it makes it so much more apparent when he's trying to do things like steal blue Tiberium. He's going to be punished here, but he might still be able to save that harvester. It's low on health, and he got a little teeny tiny amount of blue Tiberium. But these two blue Tiberium fields, which are split equally between the two teams, they're becoming the focus of the early attention. There are also 2 EMP control centers that we see. Commonly, EMP control centers aren't really captured. If they are captured, you know, if your opponent knows, they always try and take it out, because an EMP control center that is left unattended can be an extremely powerful, game-changing weapon. And those ones are so far forward, they're so exposed that I can't imagine, ooh, that harvester surviving low health, but ready to survive. And unfortunately for Gajcus, we saw his low health harvester get cleaned up in the north. Anyways, these EMP control centers, they're so far in the middle, they're so close to your opponent that I can't imagine they will ever be captured and they will ever fire off. Whoever captures them, I feel like the other team is just immediately going to destroy them. Or the game will be so close to ending that the other team won't be able to destroy them, and the game will just end before the EMP can actually be used. Somebody's pinging the field, I think because GB 6001 is extremely slow in taking his natural expansion. I just realized this. This guy is this far into a 4v4. He's going beam cannons, which could be good, but he has 4 harvesters this far in. You look at the minimap, you look at everybody else, and they are chewing up their fields. They have refineries on multiple fields. Even this jokester EcLipse going for mutant marauders. So he can do whatever he wants once because he has Mutant Marauders, and we love to see Mutant Marauders. Meanwhile, Cern and Gajcus are joining together. Scrin and Black Hand coming in here to attack GB6001, who has maybe been identified as a weak link on the team on the left side. His first Harvester goes down, his first Refinery deployed on his natural expansion, and it's already jumped on and destroyed. Meanwhile, GwaspaRi is now taking the brunt of that damage, and a massive EMP lands as GwaspaRi's awakened. Come in here with his Scorpion tanks to clean up these Seekers. Big EMPs by GwaspaRi, and he's trying to target down these units as quickly as possible. Those Seeker tanks getting so much damage on these Harvesters, and the Lightning Spike, if the Seeker hadn't gotten that kill, the Lightning Spike certainly would have been able to. GwaspaRi only losing one Harvester, which, considering how many Seeker tanks were committed into that attack, that was actually pretty impressive that he only lost one Harvester to all of that. It looks like the Tier 3 is out. It has been spotted. Firehawks are coming in. CommonBank is here for the bombing run. He's going to get it, and he's going to splash down the power plant as well. That was a perfect hit there to knock down the Tier 3 of your opponent and potentially reset their timing if they're going for an Eradicator Hexapod. All right, GB601, this is your chance. You've got tons of beam cannons. Well, 4. That's maybe not actually tons. He probably needs 4 or 5 more to be able to quickly sap away the health from any epic units that are bold enough to step forward. Team right side is going full-on aggression, and team left side just feel like they are taking the punches. GwaspaRi and CommonBank feel like they're maybe stabilized enough. CommonBank with the Firehawk bombing run, GwaspaRi with deflecting that damage, and he looks like he is ready to potentially take the fight to his opponent. Flame Tank gets caught. We saw it earlier, but it gave itself away, clearing out a bunker, and now it will get hunted down by Xads Pitbulls. Eradicator Hexapod, one of them just stepped out onto the map. Beam Cannons and Titans are here. Big tip vein detonation catches multiple Scorpion tanks, but it's moments before the Marv pops on out, and now this team on the left in the north has a bit of an anchor to hold them tight. Looks like the Catalyst Missile was in the north. Xad's going to be losing one of his frontline refineries. Shockwave Artillery is firing off, looking for those marks and trying to find some epic unit here in the middle of the map. And one of these is a decoy. I guess it is the one in the north, but that stasis shield is massive. 3 Juggernauts, 2 APCs, and 1 Marv getting caught there as the tripods close in. Tasher and EcLipse joining forces for a massive, overwhelming strike, crushing forward. Check out all of these mutants from EcLipse. The guy knows how to bring some kind of, oh, he triggered it off of the blue, some kind of entertainment value as the EMP locks down CommonBank's Marv, and these, well, hammerheads get cleaned up, but these mutants get to work breaking down that Marv. Commando gets gunned down. Firehawks using their bombs on tripods instead of anything else. That is never a good feeling, but sometimes it is what you have to do. GwaspaRi is holding the line. His pink Redeemer is managing to eliminate unit after unit. And EcLipse is here in the middle of the map, but his army has disappeared. Meanwhile, on the north side, Xads get EMP'd, but Cern comes in with an Eradicator Hexapod way on the north side, trying to pick off behemoths before they can actually join the main part of the fight, which is just mass infantry from our Black Hand Gajcus, who is pushing back that Marv and hoping that his infantry can live to fight another day. One behemoth goes down, but the Eradicator Hexapod is whisked away. And this MCV move may have been a bit too forward. It looked like they had a good foot underneath them, but their attack fell apart, and now GwaspaRi steps out into the middle of the map. He's got an EMP control center online under his control, and he is hoping that he can keep it that way. Multiple husks on the front line, a couple of tripods, a couple of Juggernauts are here as CommonBank's Juggernauts fall apart to Tasher's Zone Troopers, which get dropped in behind enemy lines. GwaspaRi pushing his forces forward. He's stolen juggernauts, he's stolen tripods, and he is marching forward, even leaving CommonBank behind. And suddenly CERN now left by himself as EcLipse has left the match. CERN is hoping to hold off the firepower from our team on the left side. This might be a south side victory for the West and a north side victory for the East. We will see. CommonBank is joining some of his forces up, but it's going to be a wormhole. Massive EMPs landing as GwaspaRi's awakened. Light up this Eradicator Hexapod. The tripods as well getting absolutely destroyed. GwaspaRi ending that wormhole. The trap is not that you are in the room with me. It's that I am in the room with you as GwaspaRi completely destroys that army. But again, in the north, the battle is still raging. The sides are fighting. The Redeemer taking a ton of damage from those behemoths. Double shots landing as those pitbulls commit into the attack and just get annihilated. The Redeemer will fall as one behemoth gets the final lucky shot. The Marv coming close to the front line, and these harvesters are just there shaking in their boots, waiting to be sent home, hoping that they don't get eliminated. Rage Gen fires off, but it looks like the team on the right side has already given most of their attack commands. It's a 3 versus 4. EcLipse tapping out early, but the fight rages on. CommonBank to the front line with his juggernauts getting chipped away at by these Devastator warships. CERN hoping that he can make the artillery in the air be his savior, because he is chipping away at these sonic emitters one by one as they get placed. The Marv gets pushed further back it goes. It still has a quarter of its health bar, but this is a lot of tripods. That's a lot of purifiers as they march forward. Purifying Flame has already been purchased. Gajcus is just torching the entire GDI base on the left side, and the tripods are now going for the MCV. Xads may not be able to rebuild. His literal only thing left might be the Marv in a couple of moments here. EMP lands on that Conyard. EMP lands on the War Factory as Xads gets torn apart. GwaspaRi fires off the EMP, but it just takes away the shields. 2 tripods fall. The War Factory is safe. The Planetary Assault Carrier shows up, but it's the last bit of hope for CERN on the right. He comes in here and he is just not able to finish off those structures. GwaspaRi's Redeemer has gone double vet. He's been around, he's seen some things, and CERN has actually pushed back a big chunk of this army. CERN and Tasher have been able to clear out a big chunk of that attacking army. The MCV did end up falling. The War Factory fell as well. I think that's it for Xads. He has this Marv, and that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, if this refinery and that power plant go down, he might just lose the game. He might just be out of here completely. That might be it. That Marv won't actually matter. And yeah, Xads leaves the game. He hands everything over to CommonBank, so CommonBank has a lot more buildings, and that Marv and these harvesters and this behemoth don't just instantly die and are dealt with. Instead, they get handed over to CommonBank. EMP. Sometimes you have to predict where your opponent will be, and sometimes when you do, your opponent doesn't move, and as a result, you just wasted an EMP. It looks like CERN up in the north has that EMP control center. I was completely wrong about those in this game. Phase gets added to this drone ship. CERN is trying desperately to hold on to every bit of hope. The team in the north has won, or the team in the east has won in the north, but not completely. It's now 5 Purifiers versus 1 Marv. And I mean, Purifiers aren't the best unit in the game, but they are more than good enough to take on 1 Marv, especially with the help of all of those rocket squads. And this is turning into a top right versus bottom left kind of game. GwaspaRi is spreading out along the southern edge. CommonBank is doing the same thing. And GB 6001 has sort of moved south. He's migrated. He is looking for a new home under the protection of GwaspaRi and CommonBank. And I mean, if he's able to get up to a Redeemer, if he's able to build back his army a bit, then 3 epic units is usually better than 2. but it's turned into a 3v3. As CommonBank is trying desperately to reclaim many of these husks in the north. Ultimately, he is failing. Some of those husks getting reclaimed for mere moments before they get removed. EMP lands. GwaspaRi hoping to make a final stop here. And the tripod numbers, the avatar numbers, are actually pretty even between the two sides, but the obelisks and the EMPs give a huge advantage to GwaspaRi, as even those blue flames can't solve all of your problems. Stealth tank comes in from GwaspaRi, but it gets eliminated as sniper teams land for CommonBank, and the blue army has been routed. Gajcus gets pushed back to the north. Many husks left over. Definitely would be worth sending some engineers over for CERN to capture those husks and deny them. Tib spikes in kind of the back of the bases. They have yet to be touched. And CommonBank, he's still just chugging away with this Marv. Double engineer, single zone trooper inside of it. No fourth attachment for that Marv. He's just sitting there pretty happy with his 3 guys in that Marv. The chaos exploding in this game rapidly, but it's definitely petered out in the last minute and given us a moment to breathe. CommonBank and GwaspaRi are a very strong team. Oh, Vapor Bomb was a good call. I don't know if it was worth it, but he did get 3 husks, so even if it's not worth it exactly monetarily, it still may be worth it. EMP lands on the Hammerheads as they get annihilated. I thought it was going to hit the Redeemer, but no, it clears out those Hammerheads, keeping this heroic Redeemer, 1 engineer, 1 flame, safe for now. Firehawks hunting down those Hammerheads, and Shockwave Artillery fires off from somewhere. It catches this Marv. EMP as well with this tripod. CommonBank trying to come back for the defense maybe, but the zone troopers get eliminated by the Buzzer Swarm support power, and eventually the tripod will go down. The EMP will wear off on that Marv, and CommonBank will be saved. The presence of this Redeemer certainly adds to it, and a fully heroic Redeemer does absolutely massive damage to anything, but it does melt buildings even from a great distance. It's going to be a Redeemer fight. This guy literally fresh off of the assembly line, right out of basic training against the battle-hardened, fully upgraded Redeemer of GwaspaRi. And this guy doesn't actually have an engineer or a rocket squad or anything inside of him. He's just got the 1 flame unit. He doesn't have the additional squad. EMP lands. GwaspaRi has been pretty active with those Awakened squads all game long. Raids Gen fires off as well, trying to lock down this Redeemer for all time. Every time the Redeemer fires of GwaspaRi, it's a massive chunk of health out from Gajcus. He gets off a Rage Generator, but that will be truly the last thing he ever does, as GwaspaRi's army stands strong against that of Gajcus, and feeding in a couple of avatars at a time is definitely not going to work. When the Redeemer can't stand up against your opponent, what hope does one single Purifier have? Massive damage from this heroic Redeemer. Not often do we see a heroic Redeemer. An Eradicator Hexbot is much easier to go heroic due to the teleportation nature of those Skrin factions. But a heroic Redeemer, a harder thing to come by. Heroic Marv, a harder thing also to come by. And the Planetary Assault Carriers, they actually turn around. They might light up the rest of these Tib Spikes. Or will they capture the Tib Spike? CERN is trying to turn this into a north versus south. GwaspaRi and CommonBank in the south. I guess technically GB 6001 is also here. But then it's against CERN and Gajcus in the north, when Tasher is technically here as well. It's been functionally a 2v2 for a little while now, but now it is a 2v3, as Tasher has actually been defeated. Growth Accelerator on this field, keeping it healthy, and GwaspaRi and CommonBank are going to be happy when they see that. Firehawk comes in, cleans out that Hammerhead. Lightning Spike gets called in as well. CERN trying to make his escape because GwaspaRi comes in with a ton of Venoms on top of these Planetary Assault Carrier. He dodges the EMP. Most of his Venoms survive the fight, and he's able to come back in. The Ion Storm he doesn't care about, and he will clean up these Planetary Assault Carriers one by one. The ace in the hole. We'll see if GwaspaRi can stop the man spam on the other side of the map, and it's honestly not even that many rocket squads. CommonBank calls in more sniper teams. Purifiers and avatars mixing together for GwaspaRi. He has got full control of those husks, and he is reclaiming those units from his opponent. Two of these have gone heroic. Those red badges of honor on those Venoms. Sniper teams chewing away at this force. And is that Marv harvesting these fields? What's the Marv doing? I feel like, Marv, go over here and harvest this field. This is a ton of cash for you to grab. Like 10, 15, 20 grand in that field right there. It's so thick. It's so dense over there with that growth accelerator from your opponents. Buggy or somebody goes double vet. Actually goes heroic. This is like, we're clocking the sheer number of heroic units. It's much more common in these team games than in 1v1s. But still, a bunch of these units going heroic more than we typically would see in a match. Buggy's coming in for the smallest harassment. But I guess when you've got 4 buggies and one of them is heroic, they do chunk down a harvester kind of quickly. Like, not that quickly, but reasonably quickly for guns against a vehicle like that. Bye-bye, Purifier. You can't even click on it fast enough. That's how quickly that Redeemer kills off those Purifiers. Venoms come in. They just distract these rocket squads, and the Purifier just needs to torch all of these rockets, and then the Marv will be safe. Venoms coming in for GwaspaRi. The cache does exist on the left side of the map. They have done a decent job of recapturing some of that cache. There is 2 fields available for CERN and Gajcus to split, and if they could get all of that Tiberium, they could potentially build an army. But CommonBank and GwaspaRi have done such a good job of keeping their units alive for the last couple of minutes. I mean, the Marv is single vet, but that Redeemer has killed a lot of opposing units. And Planetary Assault Carriers, as cool as they are, they're not doing the trick. You got way too many Venoms that you're up against, and these packs have no support. Okay, this pack has a bit of support underneath. We do have an Eradicator Hexbot and some tripods. But your main base is about to get wiped out, and that will give GwaspaRi and CommonBank 3/4 of the map. Stars getting handed out. These guys going fully heroic. Supersonic Airstrike. Oh, not actually enough to kill off a pack. Even a weakened pack can absorb a supersonic airstrike quite nicely. Both of these EMP control centers have fired twice. Will they fire a third time? It is all down to CERN. He's going to try and 1v3, technically. There is still some purple in here. GB6001, he has not been doing all too much. He's got an MCV. He's got, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have any tip spikes. Maybe if he could have grabbed one of those tip spikes, took a hold of it. EMP is going to fire off. It lands on every single one of these avatars, and the tripods marching forward with this Eradicator, and that is just going to be lights out for every single one of these avatars. Unfortunately, for GwaspaRi, not all of his units are as tough as his Redeemer, which is just picking a fight with random rocket squads in the middle of the map. It seems a bit unfair, I will admit. The giant robot with the quad laser versus these little guys. But it is time to end it. I don't know at what point he got this, but it is here. The mothership gets called in, and the entire right side of the map gets lit up. Mass destruction from the Catalyst Cannon. GwaspaRi coming in with an engineer capture, and it just doesn't matter. Tripods on the other side of the map getting overwhelmed. I think they got teleported into the middle of this base. A good attempt, but ultimately it is not enough. CERN getting wasted. His tripod's still doing damage elsewhere, but this is not even the last stand of GwaspaRi and TheCommonBank. And I mean, technically, GB 6001 is also there. It will be the last stand of CERN. I guess if CERN manages to win from here, it will be truly remarkable. One for the ages. Ooh, if GB 6001 could grab that tip spike. I feel like this guy has no cash and hasn't had cash for a while. He just hasn't done anything for a while, so I assume he has no cash. Shockwave artillery will find the storm columns, find the power plant as well. And GwaspaRi's mothership is just slowly working its way across the map. It looks like eventually these shard launchers will get the kill. Bye-bye, mama ship. It was nice knowing you. CommonBank is moving forward. GwaspaRi builds a nuke, and his Redeemer and the Marv are also closing in against our team in the north, which is really just one player at this point. The team has fallen apart. There is an Iron team because it's the only one left in the team. The mothership is slowly going down. A second mothership gets called in, but this time it's from CERN. If he can get the shot off, no! It doesn't matter, the EMP! The Marv takes the EMP as well, but the last-ditch effort to delete an army just won't come through. CERN tried it at the last second, hoping to come through, but it just wasn't enough. And oh, he's got EcLipses. He's got EcLipses mutant hovel in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. That's what's keeping him in the game, I think. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that he's got left, and you can't even sell it. So, oh no, he's got this power plant as well. But he's got 2 buildings left, keeping him in the game. Oh, the Ravagers. He's got Ravagers hunting Harvesters. They're going to do some damage to these zone troopers, but I mean, ultimately, like, it just doesn't matter. I love the last-ditch effort from CERN. A massive 4v4 coming down to a 2v2, coming down to a 1v2. And he's going mutants. You can try. I don't think it's going to work. And GwaspaRi is going to be a little bit surprised. He's going to be like, wait a second. What is left? And no, okay, they realize it. GB 6001 beacons it. That's a purple beacon. He's the one who said, hey, they've got that mutant hovel in the bottom right. And the mutants fall. That will be the end of it all. The split by GwaspaRi, it's going to be the supercharged particle beams. And CommonBank gets the final bomb. And that will do it for the 4v4 on Suburban Arena 8. If only mutants were a little bit more buffed, then he could have won. And so I hope you enjoyed that insane 4v4 that turned into a 2v2 that turned into a 1v2. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Cyber signing out.